Hi, it's Jan Beta, and today's video is going to be a bit shorter than usual, hopefully. We're going to take a look at these Sega Mega Drive controllers that I got, which are in a super poor state. And we're going to try to resurrect them and make them look nice again. So I got two of these. These came from Lee Russ. Thanks for donating them. He also donated a bunch of other things that we're going to look at in future videos. As you can see, they are in a pretty poor state. Actually, I've worked on these before. Usually they can be repaired. They are a pretty solid construction, but pretty interesting in some ways, which we are going to take a look at in a second. So at first, I kind of want to see if these do work at all. Both of these are coming apart kind of, and the buttons don't feel right, so I'm not sure if these work at all. So yeah, no reaction from the D-pad on this one. Oh yeah, there is. If I push really hard and kind of hold the case parts together, we kind of get a reaction. Start button works with some force. Let's try the other one. This one's coming apart as well. Okay, and then this one we get absolutely nothing on the D-pad. Start button seems to work though. Definitely we need to take these apart and have a look at the inside, which is what we're going to do. Historically speaking, these are the second incarnation, I believe, of these Mega Drive or Genesis controllers. They were basically the same, just with different labeling on here. These are the ones that don't have the letters on the buttons filled in, but instead it had printing above the buttons, and there's indentations with the letters ABC on here. Other than that, these are relatively similar. The start button comes in different colors for different regions and historical eras, but the innards are pretty much the same for these. Yeah, let's take this apart. There's 6 screws in the back that we need to remove to be able to work on this. They are rusty, as usual with these old controllers. It seems like somebody played tic-tac-toe on here at some point. I'm not sure. Usually the way to take these apart is to have them this way, because you can take... Oh! There have been some repairs to this, it seems. Okay, that is odd. This is missing the pads that actually close these contacts for the D-pad. No wonder the D-pad didn't work. The plastic part for the D-pad is on the front here, and on the PCB there's actually no buttons on this side that get closed, no contacts, but on this side, usually you would have a rubber thing with carbon contacts here that gets actuated by this plastic part that's locked into the D-pad on the front. And then the buttons get pushed down to these contacts and close the contacts. Yeah, similar to these carbon pads are usually on a ring-shaped thing there. So this is missing that, and it was replaced with this, probably soaked in something conductive to make that work. That's kind of an interesting idea. It seems to be soaked in something. Let's see if that has some conductivity. Yeah, it actually has some conductivity. Not sure what this was soaked in. That's kind of strange. I'm not sure. Maybe salt water. Pretty interesting. This is kind of like a time capsule kind of thing. Atlanta Falcons. Some football teams maybe, I'm not sure. Carolina Panthers. Or baseball teams. I'm not too familiar with sports. This is kind of yeah, something somebody put in there in the 90s probably. But we can't really use that like this. So let's have a look at the other one and see if we can get at least one working controller out of this. This is at least good for spares, I guess. The circuit board, albeit dirty, looks intact. And the plastic parts are intact too, which is a good sign. But we are missing the actual switching membrane thing there. Let's see if we have everything in here, or at least the parts we are missing from the other one. It's missing 2 screws actually. Yeah, there we go. That's our pad. Oh, there's 2 pads in here. Okay. So we can maybe use this one for the other one. We're going to see. So this is what I was talking about earlier. These pads have carbon contacts that get pushed in by this part, which gets actuated by the D-pad, the actual plastic part D-pad on the other side. And then this moves and pushes down on these. And these are conductive coated silicon that close these gold contacts on the circuit board and actually tell the Mega Drive which direction to steer. And the same method is used for the buttons. There's basically these gold pads and these actuate these contacts. So what I'm going to do is to thoroughly clean the circuit board and the contacts, and also give the case parts a good wash in some soapy water. And I think also the silicon parts. I think maybe what they did was to double this, because some of these have some cracks. So maybe you can see that on camera. So all these plastic parts, except for the PCB with the cable, are going to go into some soapy water. And the way to disassemble these is just by putting everything to the ground. And these are filthy. But at least everything seems to be intact. So we're probably going to get at least one working controller out of these, which is nice. Let me take a couple of seconds to thank the sponsor for this video, PCBWay, my favorite manufacturer of prototype PCBs of all kinds. They also have 3D printing and CNC machining services. The quality of all those is excellent. Delivery is fast and they are friendly people to work with. The pricing is very reasonable. They also currently have a PCB design contest going where you can win some awesome prizes. So check out the link in the video description. Back to the Mega Drive controllers. So all the plastic parts are going to go into this bucket of water with some window cleaner in it. And the silicone parts too. And I'm just going to let these soak for a good while, because they are filthy. And as for the circuit boards, I'm going to give them a good clean with some alcohol and a brush. These are not very sensitive to electrostatical discharge. There's only one logic chip on there. But I suppose just to be safe, it would be a good idea to take some precautions and discharge your body, for example, on a earth connection, mains earth connection, or I don't know, a radiator. Usually, here in Germany at least, the radiators are connected to earth. My mat here is ESD safe and also connected to mains earth through a huge resistor, so should be safe on that side. I'm just using IPA here, 99.9% Isopropanol to clean circuit boards, which usually works pretty well. I'm also going to clean these cables because they are a bit stained as well. I'm going to use window cleaner and one of these microfiber cloths for that. Yeah, these contacts, as I said, are going to get some more attention with the Q-tip, and as you can see, there's some black residue on there from the carbon pads. And it's a good idea to remove all of that. And the same for the other side of the PCB. If you have some major dirt on there, you can also use a pencil eraser to get that off. That usually works pretty good on flat gold contact, gold-plated contact, that is. As for the plastic parts, I'm going to meticulously clean each single little part with the toothbrush and then let these thoroughly dry and give them another cleaning with the microfiber cloth and some window cleaner and maybe some alcohol. These should turn out pretty nice in the end, I hope. They are not cracked or anything. I can't see any broken off screw posts or anything like that, so that's very good. This is not very interesting, so I'm just going to do it off camera and come back when these are fully dry and hopefully clean. Yeah, the little logic chip on here is actually a 74HC157N. These are usually super reliable. They are dual input quad multiplexers to make all the buttons work. And usually these don't break, but if they do, there's still replacements readily available for these in case one of these is broken. Of course, you want to make sure that all the solder joints on these are good and look shiny and make good connection. Apart from this being manufactured kind of in a shoddy way, the solder joints all look good. No worries there usually. You can clearly see the wear marks from the D-pad actually hitting the circuit board, but that's nothing to worry about. There's just a ground layer on this side here, and you can see some copper shining through the solder mask there where the solder mask got worn away, but the circuit board itself is intact, so that's nothing to worry about. So it's a couple of hours later and these got washed thoroughly and dried. And I think we're looking at making one controller out of two because some of these silicon parts completely disintegrated. Actually, some of the pads ripped off completely. I'm not going to be able to fix that in a way that is reliable. So what I'm going to do is to just pick the best parts, the ones that are the least scratched and broken, and just try to make one working controller out of these two. Yeah, unfortunately, we're going to end up with one working, hopefully working controller, and the rest of the parts is going to be spare parts for future repairs. These buttons are kind of coded so they can only go in the right positions. They have these little flaps here that only fit in these indentations in the correct orientation, which is super handy, and they also don't twist. I'm just choosing the best parts and putting this back together. Also the D-pad, and we're starting from the front panel here, obviously, because otherwise all the parts would fall out. So this is slightly yellowed. You could do some retro brighting on it, I suppose, but it's not really necessary. So now for all these carbon contacts and also the pads on the circuit board, I'm going to put a tiny dab of contact cleaner on each one, just to make sure they are absolutely clean. And this is a non-corrosive contact cleaner. You don't want to use anything that's too aggressive. So these contacts go into the switches from this side, obviously. I'm going to clean the circuit board with some contact cleaner. I'm going to link the contact cleaner I used in the video description. This is Teslanol T6. The label came off, unfortunately. The stuff that I always use for most things. I seldomly use other contact cleaners, actually. So this stuff is really my go-to contact cleaner for everything. Even used this on my car. These pads also get a bit of that. This helps prevent future corrosion as well. It just forms a little layer on there. So this goes in here like so. And the contacts for the buttons directly contact the buttons. The contacts for the D-pad are going to be contacted with this pad construction that we've seen, the little mushroom-shaped piece. And this actually goes on these posts here, so you can't really put that on in the wrong way. And then we have our mushroom that goes on here. We feed the cable through this strain relief thing and make sure none of the wires get caught anywhere. So yeah, this should now be ready to be screwed together again. Just going to put 2 screws in or so. I'm just going to wipe these screws with some isopropanol as well to get rid of most of the rust, I guess. I don't even think this is rust, this is just grime, dirt. And then, after putting some screws for stability in, I'm going to test this thing. Yep, that works. Everything feels pretty good. Let's see if it works. By the way, this is my Mega Drive that I modded with some switches. You can watch that video if you want to switch it between PAL and NTSC. Okay, here comes the moment of truth. Okay, this works absolutely beautifully so far. Start button works. Yep. Yep, all the buttons work. Left, right work. Down works. Up works as well. We tested that in the menu. Yeah, it does work. So, time to put the screws in, I guess. Okay, at least I got 1 out of the 2. And a bunch of spare parts that I'm probably going to make good use of. As I said, these usually don't easily break, but yeah, those silicone parts, they seem to develop some problems over the years. Feels good. Looks a bit scratched still, and yeah, but it looks way better than before, and it actually does work. And all the screws are back in, so this feels more stable. No cracks in here or anything like that. I really like these. They just feel right to me in my hand. Like a great size for a controller, not the tiny ones that came with the NES or the Master System. Kind of perfect for me, for my taste. We did it! Yeah, I guess that's it for today. As I said, it was a bit of a shorter one. I got 1 working Mega Drive gamepad controller out of this, which is pretty nice. And maybe you learned how to work on these the way I usually do it, at least. Works pretty well for me. I refurbished quite a few of these already. And as I said, I really like these. Hope you liked this video. Hope to see you again on this channel sometime. Thank you very, very much for supporting me on Patreon or on the channel memberships page here on YouTube or on Ko-fi. Thank you for your thumbs and thank you for your comments and your subscriptions. I'm Jan Beta. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.